Welcome back into another week of the Football Recruiting Report with Otis Kirk. Otis, you've done such a great job the last couple of weeks bringing in some recent recruits that have signed so that we can talk with them on the show. But this week we're taking a little bit of a break and just get to talk with you, get a whole rundown of all of the moving pieces that have been going on because there's been quite a lot and you've been doing a great job on our website. So you can check out a ton of Otis's stories there as well. But I guess to just start off, King Golston is just a name that I've been seeing all over social media lately. I know you have a lot of information on him.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's from Valiant, Oklahoma. Very good friends with Colton Yarborough and Xavier Sims, two signees from Durant, or two current Razorbacks from Durant. And King's another one of the defensive linemen, the edge. That's what Colton's an edge, and Sims is a defensive tackle. But yeah, King Golston. I actually had a story recently. My days all run together. On Hogville, Pig Trail Nation, you can read it. He was very kind to talk to me. Yeah, he's just first, he's a very good player. Notre Dame, many schools have offered him. Where at Oklahoma has not, but I think they will. But he's a 4-star, and like I say, he has I think he told me 13 offers. And I mean, a lot of them are SEC schools and stuff, but Notre Dame is one that's offered, kind of stuck out Arkansas. He was at the Prospect Day, Junior Day, whatever people want to call it. I call it Prospect Day because when it started, it was just strictly for juniors, upcoming, seniors to be. But now they invite sophomores, so I call it Prospect Day. But regardless of that, I mean, that's neither here nor there. But no, he was at that, and he liked it, and he told me if they offer him an official visit, he will take one here, and I'm sure they will. I mean, there's no reason they wouldn't. It's not like they don't need edges, edge rushers. He had a bunch of sacks. He can rush the passer, and he's 6'2.5", 6'3". That's barefoot with 245, but he's got a motor, and that's what you want on that edge. And it used to be everybody wanted the 300-pound edges. Not saying they still don't, but it's kind of getting away from that. Even to a degree in the NFL, a lot of guys are more like 250 or so that can move and quickness, and so it's kind of trending that way. But he's got everything. He's got everything you would want in the edge. I mean, I don't know if Arkansas will get him, but he did tell me that Sims and Colton being here would be an influence because he said, when you get away from home and you get to college and you have two friends already on the team that you can, it helps. And I can see that. So it certainly won't hurt Arkansas if they have those two kids. And all three of those kids were associated with Sean Cooper's C4 down at Durant. It's a physical a workout place. And I've been there. I actually went down for Durant's commitments ceremony. And I'm good friends with Sean. So I've been there. And he really does a good job with those kids. They all worship him and appreciate the job he does. And King's certainly in that group. And so it was good for him to make that long drive from Valiant, which is down. If anyone doesn't know, I've actually played softball at Valiant years ago when I lived in Mena. But it's like southeast Oklahoma, not that far from like Broken Bow, Durant, Texas state line. So it's down in that part of the state, and it's not a big town, but he was a star player for them. And if Arkansas can get him, it will help. And they kind of getting a pipeline into that area, and that's a good place to get one because those kids, they're kind of country kids, but they know how to play. And Yarborough was so solid. I mean, he just stuck with Arkansas through coaching changes, all of it, and stayed solid, never once wavered. And that's a compliment. And it's kind of what the character of those kids are down there. They have strong character, very polite, take phone calls, and just waste their time talking to some nobody like me. So, yeah, and I appreciate that. So, no, but I mean, I'm serious. They're very polite kids. They're very well-mannered. And it's kind of instilled in them down in that area. And so it's good to see they're on another player from down there. And they're on some others in that area, too. We had the quarterback, Graydon Howell, from Broken Bow on this show a couple of months ago, maybe. He's an athlete. OU recently offered him, and Arkansas had offered under Bobby Petrino, but I don't know if the staff will still go after him, but he can play like 5 or 6 positions. But he's in that area too. So there's quite a few players down in that area that Arkansas and other schools really like.
Another name that you and I were talking about before we hopped on the episode was Jaylen Allen, a very talented player as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I saw him play and it was an accident. I went to see Quincy Rhodes play against Fort Smith Northside when Quincy was, well, I guess they'd have both been seniors. I guess they were both seniors, but I went there because of Quincy Rhodes. But on the other end, the other bookend was a big old kid, about as big as Quincy, that I thought, hey, he's pretty good too. But I didn't interview him that night because it was they were on the road. They were at Northside. They had to get in the dressing room. So I talked to Quincy and had a story on here about him. But yeah, I saw Jaylen Allen play, and you know what? I didn't even realize where he was at till his name kind of popped up where Arkansas had offered him at Hutchinson, and I got to looking into him, and I said, I remember that kid. And he had 10 sacks at Hutchinson, 31 tackles, I think 21 solo, if I'm not mistaken. And he's another one. He's taller than Golston, but he's kind of that same deal, 6'7", 245, 240, depending on which roster you look at. But I think Arkansas got a steal there. West Virginia offered him late, but I felt like he was pretty much a lock for the Hogs in the sense that Quincy's here. He's from North Little Rock, and there was really no reason for him not to come here. And he had other offers, but West Virginia got in on him late that week, and then he came in for the official visit. And he really plays it tight to the vest. I talked to him one time on the phone, and it didn't last long, so he was in a hurry. But I get it. There's a lot of people interview these kids. So, but yeah, that was a good pickup for them. I'm telling you, like I said, I lucked into seeing him play, and then I watched his junior college video, and he's pretty good. I'm pretty sure I put his highlight video in the story that I did when he signed, and so yeah, people could see it. He's got a motor, and I think he's got a chance to really make a name for himself outside of that other spot, other than Quincy. Of course, Quincy will be a senior, but and that's one position you never get too many players at: edge, defensive tackle. And so that was a good pickup for Arkansas. Yeah, he kept it down for the last day, and he signed on that Wednesday. But I felt like that's where he would come, and he did. But it was just hard because I've talked to other reporters. It was pretty much crickets from him until he actually signed. So, he's quite a quiet kid that keeps it to himself. But in the end of the day, I figured he wanted to be a Razorback, be alongside Quincy, and just play for his home state. And he's got 3 years. He's got 3 years, so that makes it. He redshirted his first year at Hutchinson. Then he played as a redshirt freshman, and he's got 3 years now. I don't, the way they changed rules and they gave the Vanderbilt quarterback another year, so I guess he could have more than 3. But he's got 3 guaranteed years if he wants them at Arkansas. So we'll leave it at 3 to let the courts
for now
work the rest of that out. But somebody pointed that out the other day. I said he's got 3 years, and they said, well, he may have more. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that stuff. The courts will handle that, and when it comes to it. But if they could get 3 years out of him, there's always, he could always go in the transfer portal again. But if they get 3 years out of him and he's as good as I think he may be, that's a great pickup for them. And it's just, I like what Coach Silverfield and his staff are doing. They're putting a lot more emphasis on the in-state kids than the previous staff. Well, I'm not knocking Sam, not knocking anybody. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying I prefer that. I like it, and it just so happens. And we're going to talk about the 7 kids that they're really on in 2027 here in a few minutes. But inside Arkansas, and I've got some Oklahoma kids too I want to mention. But anyway, yeah, I like that. But Allen was a good pickup. I know I've said that 2 or 3 times. I hate to repeat myself, but I'm just saying it's a position of need. You can never get, I've always said on the show, defensive linemen don't grow on trees. Big kids who athletic, got the academics and stuff to get into school, they don't grow on trees. When you can get one, you take them. And Arkansas did, and I like that.
Why do you think he was overlooked?
I think, why was he overlooked, kind of? Because junior college in general just are. You've got the transfer portal has got to where
it's pure
junior
chaos.
College recruiting. They signed 4 this year, but boy, there's been some years where they haven't even mentioned junior college kids. It's not just Arkansas. I think the transfer portal has taken over where junior college was, and even the high school kids. You've almost got to be a stud. No, you got to be a Hank Hendricks or somebody like that, or like the kid we had on last week, or those kids. I mean, you got to be pretty dang good player to get a high school offer anymore. And that's why I don't like this allowing 6, 7, 8 years for those kids to play college ball. My solution would be give everybody 5 years, no red shirts, no hardship, no medical hardship. Give 5 years. After 5 years, it's over. And people say, well, I had a guy tell me the other day, well, you're denying people a chance to make a living, so it's illegal. And I said, no, what you're doing, that may be true, except the fact that after 5 years, you should be able to play in the NFL or NBA or go get a job like the rest of us have to do. Or you're also denying a lot of these high school and junior college kids. Why I'm saying that, because you asked me about junior college. And so, we had Antonio in here and he talked about some days he didn't know what he's going to even eat, he didn't even know where his food was going to come from. So you're denying kids like that a chance to get to the next level by letting these other kids become career athletes, college athletes. And so that's not fair. And that's why I'm completely against it. No means am I against NIL or kids getting paid. I'm all for that. They should have been all along. But I am against kids getting 6, 7, 8, 9 years of college ball. I just don't. I think it turns academics into a farce. And and as I said, you're denying a lot of high school and junior college, but junior college kids particularly, and those kids don't have it great there. People think, oh, well, they got it made. I had a friend that was a head coach at junior college, and I'll tell you the story real quick. He told me, he said, Otis, I went to see Jason Pierre-Paul was his name, a defensive end. And he was a stud back then. He went somewhere in Florida. But after practice, I watched the whole practice, and I stayed around. He had Jaylen come down there, and Jaylen did a backflip at like 280 pounds. He said, can you do that? And I said, I'd kill myself if I did that. You'd have to get a bulldozer out here to get me off your field. I said, I couldn't even do that when I was 20, when his age. But to say, here's what I was going to say with that. He told me, he said, Otis, this is a lot different than junior college. With SEC, he said, I have to be the coach, the guardian, the dorm guardian, the tutor. I have to do it all here. He said, it's just different at junior college. And he said, and so it's tough. And when you don't give those kids a chance now to go on the next level, and Arkansas's got 4 of them. And I'm glad to see that, because they deserve a chance too. And I'm glad to see that Arkansas is kind of getting back into junior college a little bit. They hit there a little bit, and I think more schools will. And you've got to be kind of elite out of junior college to get an offer. But if you do, it's a chance to go on to the next level. But those kids, they deserve a chance. And that's why I'm for that. I'd love to see 5 years and just let everybody move on after that, regardless. No medical hardships, nothing like that.
Yep. 8 kids have signed at Arkansas but have not yet enrolled. I know there's a number of them that you would like to talk about, so take it away. Yeah,
there's three on the offensive line. And I tried to get Hugh Smith and Tucker Young on today. They've both been on here multiple times, but Hugh said he would anytime else. He's couldn't today for some reason. Those two, Tucker Young from Lakeside and Hugh Smith from Houston, and then Ben Mabinga from Buford, Georgia. Those are 3 offensive linemen, and all 3 of those kids were committed and stayed with Coach Myers, Coach Silverfield, and them through the coaching chain. And that's huge. The other one, the 3 junior college kids, 2 junior college kids, Antonio and then Jaylen Allen, are 2 of the 8. Those are 2. Then Hank Hendricks, I kind of mentioned earlier, he's in that 8. All of them will come in. And then the other 2 are Judah Hall, a wide receiver who was committed to Memphis from South Carolina, a big kid, like 6'7", I believe. A huge receiver. Runs track. This kid's, I think this kid may be the sleeper. Oh, yeah, I think he's one of the sleepers of the class. But Jude Hall is a wide receiver that is signed but not enrolled from South Carolina. And then Eli Haltom is a long snapper from down in the Texarkana area, I believe Pleasant Grove High School, Texarkana area, Texas side. And he's the 8th one. But those 8 did sign on February the 4th. Yeah, that was the Wednesday. Yeah, it's always the first Wednesday in February, that traditional national sign day. In Arkansas, actually signed 3 that day after some years of not signing any. But yeah, those are 8 kids that will not be in spring ball. Everybody else, the 21 signees, the other 13 will be in spring ball. We'll see them if they're not injured or something. Mm-hmm. But they're on campus going through the workouts. You can see on X and Facebook and stuff, the highlights that they put up, of the University of Arkansas puts up of those kids working out, and it's good. And it's good to see that, because I have 13 kids from the that class already enrolled, and then you've got like 41, I believe, from the portal that's already enrolled, not counting the walk-ons. So that's a big number already on campus. You need it because you lost a lot of kids off last year's team, but then you've got guys like Braylon Russell and, Kobe Branham and Caden Kittler and Jaden Platt, and a lot of them back. So that'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
And, White Simmons, I saw where he got some kind of award for his workout. Linebacker from Harding Academy High School from Searcy. I really like White. He didn't play much till Bobby and them took over, and Bobby, I think, told him kind of get him in there. And then you got Charlie Collins, Courtney Crutchfield coming back. So it's going to be an interesting spring ball. You've got some good. I think this staff did a very good job. They lost some kids they wanted. I'm not going to say and pretend they didn't. They did. They lost some players off last year's team. They wanted the defensive tackle and some other, and Marion Harris. So they lost some players they wanted. But I think they did a very good job of keeping the majority, KJ, Quincy, keeping the majority of the players that they wanted to keep, getting them back for another season. You blend those in with these 40 plus portal. 21 plus high school or 21 high school kids or junior college and high school. So I think you've got a good mixture there. And I think this could be an exciting spring. I don't know what kind of access we will have, new coaching staff, but I hope we get some access and get a chance to watch these kids. I'm sure we will. And I did see that Ryan announced while he was in Hot Springs at that speaker event that there will be a spring game this year. Some schools have gotten away from that, and I didn't know his stance on that. But I'm a geek. I'm an old school geek. I love spring games, even though they're basically worthless. But I do love them, and that's a time to also, that's a good chance to bring recruits on campus, unofficial visits, and let them watch the spring game, and they can see, these running backs, Michael Gamble, and them. They can see the. Yeah. See the Braylon Russells, the Sutton Smiths, and those kids, so it's good, and I like that, and get to see KJ, and everybody. So I still love the spring games. I know some people think it's just a waste of time, but I don't. Like I said, I'm old school. When I lived in Mena, I would drive up every year to the spring game, and even they had one back then. Sometimes they'd have one in Little Rock too, and I'd drive to Little Rock and watch it, and then come to Fayetteville. I love them. I don't know why, but I just love spring games.
It gets the fans excited.
Well, I think one thing you could see a lot of players do. You really you've heard about, maybe even written about, but you haven't seen much of them on the field, and you can see that in the red white. And always too, there's usually a surprise. If you watch Matt Jones, and I'm not picking on Matt, he was a great quarterback. If you watch Matt Jones practice, you think that kid doesn't have a clue. And you go out there when the lights came on, Matt Jones he's big old 6'7" quarterback. It looks like he's running in mud, but all of a sudden he's leaving these 4.5, 4.4 speed defensive backs and leaving them behind. And you see that. So some kids, when the lights come on, you see that. And I've seen that at spring games, and I like that. I like that aspect. You see some kids that maybe just different than practice, and I think you see that all the time. And like I said, I'm not picking. I love Matt, but he was a great quarterback. But he was just a kid that if you watched him practice, you just think, man, he's not. He just doesn't want to be there. But all of a sudden, when, like I said, you put the lights on, that kid turned it up. I was in Kentucky that night. That he drove them crazy. I started running all over them. So it's But anyway, I love spring games, and I'm glad Ryan's having one. That was good news. I hope we get a lot of access to spring practice, but he'll announce that when the time's right.
Yes. Well, you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but Silverfield and his staff have done a much better job than recent coaches in in-state recruiting, and that was something that I had heard from fans when I first got here of why don't we recruit more in-state, and he has over 10 recruits already from the state of Arkansas, and you wanted to run with that, so go ahead.
Yeah. Just in 27 alone, he's offered Micah Campbell, who we had on here, Jeremiah Dent, a running back, who moved to number one in the state once with a lot of service. Once Hank Hendricks reclassified 2026, Hank was rated number one. And then Trey Stewart, who I've had on the show, I played previous before you were here, but running backs, that's 3 running backs right there. Mm-hmm. You secure your in-state running backs, you may not have to really worry about outside the state because you may take one out of the portal. Mm-hmm. Josiah Steen, believe it or not, is another wide receiver from Warren. It never is. I don't know what Bo Henry does down there, but it's something in the water at Warren. And it was good to see Terrence Robertson kind of come up more and be a big old offensive lineman. But man, Warren, and they've got Antonio Jordan on the team now. That's the kid I want to see in the spring. But Josiah Steen's a wide receiver from Warren. And then you know Brady Sturdivant, my God, from Sheridan is the only commitment in 27 right now. He's 6'3", 6'4", 300-pound offensive, probably guard from Sheridan. Committed to the previous staff and stayed solid. He was at the prospect day the other day. In fact, all those kids that I'm going to mention here were they were all at the prospect day that Saturday. So Will Caston, his dad Marvin, good friend of mine, played here. Linebacker, they called him Skull. He would knock your head off. He moved in fullback some because he would just wipe out people blocking. But Marvin Caston's son Will has been offered by the previous staff. I was there when they offered him at the camp. I saw T. Will and them all celebrating, and I said, I think he just got offered. Sure enough, he did. We have Will on here to talk about this time. Yeah, he's a good kid. Mario Brownlee, who I was going to have on here a couple of 3 weeks ago, but his power went out. You know, when we had those big ice storms
Yes.
in Arkansas. Yeah, his power went out. He told me, Saturday, yeah, I'll come on the show. On Sunday morning, he texted, I don't have any power. And I said, well, you won't be on the show. Yeah, so, yeah, but Mario, we'll get him on. It's 7-on-7 right now. It's a problem. But I'll get Mario Brownlee on, a linebacker, 6 foot, 205 from Arkansas. That's one that Ryan and Coach, they offered since they came on board. And then, well, I think that's the 7. Yeah, that's the 7. But that's so it'd be what, 3 running backs, a wide receiver, an offensive lineman, and 2 linebackers in the state. Now, that's not to say some of those kids they're athletes and could end up playing another position, but that's what they're kind of being recruited for is those positions. I mean, a kid like Trey Stewart could be an outstanding defensive back. He's going to be a running back. I'm sure Michael Gamble could. Oh, I know he plays both ways. And then Josiah could be a defensive back, but I know he wants to play, and I'm sure he will be a receiver because he's just like I said. Warren just man, and those kids for the most part. They're all Traylon Burks. I get that. They're not all, but man, they all contribute and play well. And there again, those kids from Warren are good kids. They're kind of like the kids I talked about from down in that Durant, southeast Oklahoma area. They're good. There's country kids. It's kind of like Fordyce and stuff. They're not in the media sector where they get a lot of media publicity from their local because of where they're at. But they're good players, good persons, and very well. Just good people, and every kid from Warren turned out to be just a pretty good person. But yeah, that's the in-state offers. There's some. If I can I hit real quick on some Tulsa and Oklahoma? Bryson Brown is a defensive back and I've had him on here, but he was at Owasso when I had him on. He's now at Broken Arrow, and Bryson is a defensive back who runs track, is a stud. I mean, and Coach Silverfield has been over there, and also some of the other coaches have been over to see him. But he's originally from Arkansas. Still has an 870 area code Arkansas cell phone. But Bryson is a Broken Arrow, and he's as good as anybody in the state of Oklahoma. And I think he's got. I mean, God knows if you name a school, that's who's offered him. I mean, but I think Arkansas's got a great chance at him. And I'm going to get over to Broken Arrow soon. There's got a sports card shop there that I like to go to too. But I'm gonna go over and see Bryson and do some interviews for him. There was a kid here from Bixby, same school that produced the Haas brothers, but Kane Brackney is his name, a linebacker. He's one of the top recruits in Oklahoma, and I'm talking about 27 kids now, 2027. Kane was at the prospect day the other day and really liked it and was impressed. And boy, Coach Roberts could pull him in. That's a heck of a linebacker right there because he's got good size, probably about 6'2", 220, something like that, 225. But Kane, Bixby is not just one of the best high schools in Oklahoma. It's one of the best schools in the nation. Football, they just blow people out. But Kane was here, and we talked about King already. But then Daniel Yebit, Yebit is a defensive back from UConn, who's more down in the Oklahoma City area, I believe. But that's another kid that Ryan and his staff have offered that they like. He's probably about 6'2", 175, 180 defensive back, a good height there at 6'2". Will be a cornerback in college. And I know Coach Turner has spent some time over at Choctaw with Titus Hawkins is his name, and Hawks is his name. Big 6'7" tight end. And he's just, I mean, he's not that heavy, but boy, at 6'7", you got to figure their strengths. The strength and conditioning coach could put a lot of weight on him. And he might be a kid that might not play as a freshman, maybe he would, but by the time he gets second year in the program, he should be a monster out there tight end. But you like that size, it's the height, 6'7", gives you a quarterback a good target to throw it up to. But Titus is from Choctaw, Oklahoma, and got a lot of offers, and no guarantee he'll be a Hawk, but he's somebody that I know Morgan Turner has looked at and is offered and likes a lot. So that's some kids. There's others in Oklahoma. That's and that's one thing I like about what Coach Silverfield did. Same thing as the previous staff. They made Tulsa almost like a in-state school. That Tulsa area. You've got Broken Arrow, you've got Tulsa, Booker T. Washington, you've got Wasso, Jinx, and Bixby, all those right there. And I'm probably leaving somebody out, but Tulsa Union. Yeah, I knew some, but there's like 6 or 7 schools that have kids every year, and they're right there in that area. And man, it pays you to go to Oklahoma and recruit those kids because it's about 2-hour drive, 2.5 hour drive at the most for a lot of those kids to Fayetteville. 1 hour and 45, 2 hours, something, so it's a short drive considering if you go out of state, it's about as close as Norman, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through Tulsa going to Oklahoma City to see the Thunder and Lakers play. So it's not a whole lot different than coming to Arkansas. So, I mean, that's a short drive. It's a good road, good interstate, and good highway. So it's an easy drive. And once a lot of the kids over there, Felix Jones came from Booker T., and Keon Hatcher from Owasso. And they told me what they liked about it was far enough away that they could get away from home. But yet, if they need to get home, they could get there. If an emergency, family emergency came up, it wouldn't be like all day sitting in an airport waiting for flight exchanges and stuff.
Yes.
So, as you get a chance to get away and go away to college, but you can get home if you need to. And, spring break or something, short drive home. So kids like that. And I've heard that from a lot of them. Eric Bennett and a lot of them that Eric Bennett, Tulsa, Booker T. So they've made a good living recruiting that area, and this staff's in there strong. And I do like that. I think the best chance is Bryson Brown. I think they'll get some of the others. Hopefully they can pull in Kane Brackney, but I know Oklahoma, he's got a teammate going to Oklahoma, and defensive lineman. And so OU's always tough to beat. Oklahoma State's tough to beat. But Bryson Brown is one kid that I don't get shocked much, and I don't know if I'll be shocked, but I will be a little surprised if he doesn't end up being a Razorback. They've made him a priority, the staff has. He was offered by the previous staff, obviously, but they've made him a priority, and he has told me that means a lot to him. Mm-hmm. He messaged me a lot, texted me a lot, and he's told me that means a lot, that the fact that they came in and they immediately made him a priority, and then they offered him. We'll see what he does this spring. They didn't do that. They went right on him, and he did appreciate that. But then again, I mean, there'd be no reason to wait on that kid. He's a big time player. I think he's a 4-star. I don't think he's a 5-star. He's a 4-star, I believe. But he's as close to a camp mid, and he can play wide receiver. He can play safety, play corner. I think he'll probably be a corner, but I think he'll be in the secondary. Mm-hmm. But he could play wide receiver if you want. Heck, he could probably play running back if you wanted him to. I mean, he's that good. He's that kind of athlete. But he's going to be a defensive back. But he runs track. Like I said, he didn't come to the prospect day because he had an indoor track meet that day. I don't know where it was at, but he told me he had an indoor track meet that day, and that's why he didn't come to the prospect day. But he will get over here. He'll come when there's a dead period.
Get him here
where anybody doesn't open. February 2nd to March the 2nd, it's a dead period. No on campus or off campus. They can't visit schools. Kids can't come in. Coaches can't go off campus from February 2nd to March the 2nd. But after that, pretty soon after that ends, spring ball will start, and then kids can start coming back in. They'll have more prospect day, junior days, and get more kids on campus. But that's kind of where it's at with this because, it is a dead period. And people asking, why haven't they been bringing kids on campus? Well, that's the reason they can't. It's illegal. So, but that'll change once spring ball starts up, it will once March gets here. But anyway, once spring ball, March and April, watch a lot of kids visiting this school and the University of Arkansas, including Bryson.
Yep. All right, we can't have a football podcast without talking about the biggest game of the year that's going down tonight. Really quick, because we have about a minute left in the show. Who you got? And if you have a score prediction, I personally hate doing score predictions. So give me your reasoning.
Okay, I want New England to win, simple, because of Hunter Henry. I want them to win.
Good pick.
I do think Seattle will win. I know you're a New England fan, and I do hope they. We're both for New England, and I
Yeah.
hope they win. I'm because of Hunter Henry, but also I just don't. I'm not a big Seattle fan anyway. I picked. I don't know the score. I think, but I do think Seattle will win. But I pray I'm wrong. I hope Hunter gets to carry that trophy off, and he's a great kid. I know you weren't here when he was at Arkansas, but he is one heck of a class act, and so was his brothers and his dad. But I hope New England gets that title today, and I think they got ripped on all these Hall of Fame. We were talking about those snubs off the air. That was ridiculous. I mean, you don't have to like Belichick, but to deny him that, ludicrous.
Yep. All right, I got my Patriots winning it all tonight as well. Otis, thank you so much for the time. Have a great rest of your Super Bowl Sunday.